Hello and welcome again to this edition of Florida Internet and Television's FLITV. I'm your host, Brad Swanson. We are coming to you just a few blocks from Florida Capitol in the headquarters of Florida Internet and Television. I am joined by Michael Carlson, President and CEO of, I got to read this, Personal Insurance Federation of Florida. We'll come back to that other slip later. Okay, so we're here to talk about the big insurance issues this session. What are the biggies? What are we looking at?
The two important issues that we're dealing with right now are acronyms, and they're funny, and I'll explain what they are. AOB is being bandied around the Capitol right now, and PIP, P-I-P.
Okay, sound harmless.
They sound harmless. Right? PIP is the larger of the issues, and that is basically personal injury protection insurance that every Floridian in Florida has got to buy.
Okay.
If you drive a car, you have to buy PIP. PIP is a medical insurance coverage that if you get into an accident, you get injured, covers your medical expenses and some other related expenses. Okay. Well, there's a move in the Senate and the House to repeal PIP, do away with it, and to add a more expensive coverage called bodily injury insurance coverage. Our trade association, which represents farmers and Allstate and Progressive and State Farm companies, is very concerned about what the Senate and the House are trying to do to repeal PIP. And that's
like why your small and large business associations across the board sit in the same area that you guys do.
Yeah, everybody's concerned because, number one, rates are going to go up for most Floridians who are driving cars today because of the kinds of coverage that the Senate and the House want to demand that everybody buy. Right. And that's where our concern is. We say, please let the consumers decide what they need to buy.
And what it really does is it changes the rules and then therefore how much has to be charged to cover the cost to carry the insurance, right?
The risk changes and the rules change. The biggest rule change will be that now if you get into an accident, you got to go sue somebody to prove that you've been hurt and to get recovery of those medical expenses. Today under PIP, you don't have to sue. Okay, all right. So that basically the current system keeps the burden in our court system lower and therefore tax rolls lower. Okay, so the solution you're proposing in that world? Well, our ideal solution would be try to fix PIP. I mean, if PIP's been on the books since 1971, it's plagued by some fraud, which is just criminal fraud. We can fight that with police like we do. Okay. The other problem is determining the value of services, and so there's litigation between the medical providers and the insurance companies over what an MRI costs, for example. Right. There's a way to fix that. That is, let everybody understand what the math is to determine what the reimbursement amount is. Right. You could do that in statute. You could fix it in a day, and you could take all that litigation away and return PIP to a real functioning
And this is the argument we've seen for years where it talks about actual cost versus potential cost, and those that want to recoup funds through lawsuits want to go for the potential amount versus actual.
We have a statute, which we can talk about in the context of AOB in a second, that really encourages vendors to sue insurance companies. Right. So they are also encouraged to play games with their invoices.
Okay. Well, since we're moving towards the AOB definition, what's AOB? Tell us about it. Talk to
Another
us about
acronym, and it's a crazy one. Assignment of benefits, and all that is a piece of paper that a consumer would sign to a vendor that basically says, I, Michael, am giving you, Brad, my entire rights to my insurance policy. It's common in a homeowner's environment. It's very common in PIP in the medical environment. And what that means is you've given away all of your insurance rights to a third party who's interested in making money. Right. When you do that AOB, it gives that vendor one more legal right that you have as an individual. That is a right to get an attorney paid by the insurance company. Right. Right. So he can then sue and say, insurance company, you pay my fees.
Well, and you know, to play the devil's advocate, the end user of this doesn't really seem to understand the implications of this because they're like, man, I had a leak and I got a brand new kitchen out of it. But it's really people manipulating the system.
We call it the cottage industry. It's a group of vendors. A lot of it's South Florida, but there's some Central Florida. It's creeping northward. And trial lawyers, a group of trial lawyers. It's not everybody who are benefiting from the system because the trial lawyer is going to make money even on a settlement with the insurance company. The vendor is going to make a little more money than they would have otherwise made. Homeowner doesn't even probably know what's going on unless the lawsuit happens, in which case the homeowner oftentimes is deposed. Right. And you would not be surprised to hear that people get completely freaked out when someone comes to their door and says, you've been subpoenaed to be involved in a lawsuit. You got to go do a deposition. Wait, I didn't know anything was wrong. It's because of this one-way fee statute, as we call it, which incentivizes bad behavior, creates lawsuits, and generates costs.
All right, so what's the fix on this one?
Fix on this one is a fix that's a global fix that would also help on PIP, and that is, in the United States, when a business sues a business, they each pay for their own attorneys. In Florida, we have an exception which is designed to protect individual consumers. That's what's being used by these vendors. If you simply change that and said Florida's going to go to the normal United States system, that is vendors suing each other, pay their own way, we would probably drive out all this bad behavior.
And look, I feel obligated to remind folks that from a business standpoint, Florida is consistently ranked among the bottom states from the business perspective. We're 43rd worst, 47th worst, meaning if you want to be in the business of suing people for money, we're third best or we're fifth best, right? It's a terrible place. It makes it tough to do business, much less responsibly insure folks.
That's true. I mean, we were just named by the United States Chamber of Commerce this year the #1 judicial hellhole in the country because of our litigious environment.
It happens year after year. So yeah, we encourage our members to pay attention to that. Okay, so I'm somebody who's outraged on this. Who in your industry, how big is your industry? Talk to us a little bit about the industry that's fighting to protect Floridians in this.
Well, we're huge. I mean, my trade association with our members writes 45% of the auto market and about 20% or so of the homeowners market.
Right. Well, what type of businesses are those?
These are, more than probably close to 10,000 people employed in the state. A lot of the agents are individual business owners, so they've got a vested interest in their community.
The atypical small business owner, right? Single operator.
Right, a single operator. These agents have a very strong interest in trying to resolve these problems because their customers are being hurt. The agent's got to say, I'm sorry, your rates are going up. Because that's fundamentally what's happening. Rates are going up in homeowners and in auto because of this bad behavior that we're talking about.
And really, it's these agents all across the state that if it's not going the right way, they have to say no. And if you can't have coverages, you can't.
Hurts their business. I mean, you think about insurance, it's not a very sexy term, but it is the foundation of our economy.
Right. All right, so if somebody wants to get engaged, want to hear more about it, where do they go to find out more?
Best thing to do is go to PIFF.net. That's our website. There's a lot
PIFF.net.
PIFF.net, which also happens to be a New Zealand film institute of some sort. So make sure you come to the right, PIFF.net. And there's a lot of information there that we have. I would also encourage anybody who's interested to go to the OIR website, which is
Office of Insurance Regulation.
Office of Insurance Regulation. FLIR.gov. There's a wealth of information there for people to sort of learn about the issues. Contact your local senator, your local representative, say, what's going on in this insurance area? Why are rates going up? What are you doing about it?
Well, Michael, thanks for coming on our show and sharing these two key issues that affect everybody across Florida, including our members, our vendors in our industry, and thanks for getting in the fight.
Thank you, Brad, for having me here.
Thank you.
Have a great one.
That's all the time we have for today's show. We thank you for tuning in, but before we go, make sure you hit us up on our Facebook and Twitter feed at FLInternetTV. Thanks again for tuning in.